Jace was working alone in the docking bay when he first heard the strange sound. It was soft, almost like a weak tap on metal. He looked up from the broken fuel pump he was repairing and listened again. The sound came one more time, light, shaky, and filled with struggle. He wiped his hands on his work shirt and followed the noise. The docking bay was quiet since most workers had gone to rest, and only a few cargo crates sat near the walls. Jace moved closer to the largest crate, a silver one with dragon symbols marked on the side. His eyebrows rose. Dragon cargo was rare on the station. Only royal shipments carried those symbols. The tapping sound grew weaker. Jace slowly opened the crate lid just enough to peek inside. A warm rush of air touched his face, carrying a faint glow. Inside, resting on a cushion of heated gel, was a dragon egg. It was large, almost the size of Jace's torso, and cracked across one side. The cracks pulsed with a faint golden light. The egg shook again very slightly. A small thump came from inside. Jace's heart tightened. The hatchling was trying to get out, but something was wrong. The cracks looked uneven, and the glow flickered like a failing light. He had repaired many machines, but even he knew this was not how a healthy egg behaved. It looked unstable. Jace carefully looked around. No dragons. No guards. Not even a handler. "Why is it alone?" he whispered. Then he noticed a small note attached to the crate, written in a dragon script but translated by the station system. It said, "Royal egg, temperature delicate. Do not touch." Jace swallowed hard. A royal egg. That meant the Empress's family. If anything happened to it, no human on the station would be safe. He stepped back, unsure what to do, but the egg gave a small, painful cry, a soft, high sound that made his chest tighten. The hatchling was struggling, and no one was here to help. Jace looked left, then right, hoping someone would appear, but the docking bay was empty. Only the distant hum of machines filled the air. He knelt closer to the crate and whispered, "Hey, little one, hang in there." The egg flickered again, and the cracks widened, but not in a natural way. One edge bent inward, as if the shell was collapsing instead of opening. Jace had seen something similar before, in overheated machines with failing circuits. Heat imbalance. Pressure issues. His eyes widened. The egg was overheating. He checked the gel pad under it. It was warm. Too warm. The temperature regulator attached to the crate blinked red, showing a failure in the system. The heating coil was stuck on maximum. Jace felt panic rise. If the egg stayed like this, the hatchling could die. He reached for his tools, then stopped. The note said not to touch. This was royal property. If he disobeyed, he could get punished, maybe even sent off the station. But then the egg cried again, weak, fading. Jace clenched his jaw. I can't just stand here. His hands moved before his thoughts caught up. He opened his small tool bag and grabbed a heat stabilizer, something he used to cool metal that overheated during repairs. He placed the device near the bottom of the egg, letting the cool air flow gently around the shell. The glow steadied a little. The egg stopped shaking. "Good, good," he whispered. He checked the temperature again. Still high, but falling slowly. He adjusted the regulator, wiring with careful fingers. He had worked with delicate machines before, but this felt far more serious. One wrong move could harm the little creature inside. The egg made a soft chirp, as if responding to his touch. "You're going to be okay," Jace said softly. "I promise." He continued working, tightening wires and adjusting pressure levels. Sweat dripped down his forehead, not because of the heat, but because he knew the risk he was taking. Helping a royal egg without permission, it sounded like a very bad idea. But the hatchling mattered more. When he steadied the regulator, the cracks glowed brighter and smoother. The shell slowly began to open the right way now. Small, gentle splits spreading outward instead of collapsing inward. Jay stepped back, afraid to interfere too much. The egg pulsed once, twice, then opened with the softness of warm air. A tiny dragon head peeked out. The hatchling was small, no bigger than a house cat. Its scales were soft, shining faintly gold and silver. Its eyes were large, round, and warm amber. It looked weak but alert, staring at Jace with a confused tilt of its head. Jace's breath caught. He had never seen a dragon this close, especially a newborn. "Hey there," he said gently. "Welcome to the world." The hatchling let out a tiny chirp and reached toward him with a trembling claw. "I shouldn't," Jace whispered, stepping back. But the baby kept reaching, making a small sound that felt like a plea. Finally, Jace slowly extended one hand, letting the hatchling touch his fingers. The tiny dragon leaned into his hand, curling slightly as if seeking warmth and comfort. At that exact moment, high above the station, in a silent private chamber, the dragon Empress watched everything through a floating hologram. Her expression was unreadable. Her eyes followed every movement, every touch, every breath. She had said nothing when she saw the egg overheating. She had given no orders when the humans failed to protect it. She wanted to see what this human would do. As the newborn dragon rested against Jace's hand, she sat back in her seat, her wings folding behind her. "Interesting," she whispered. But Jace knew none of this. He only knew that a tiny life needed him. And in that quiet docking bay, with machines humming and warmth filling the air, a bond began, one that would soon shake two civilizations. Jace stayed kneeling beside the hatchling, unsure what to do next. The tiny dragon rested its head against his palm, breathing softly. Its scales shimmered weakly, showing that it was still tired from the difficult hatching. Jace looked around again, hoping anyone would walk in and take over. But the docking bay remained silent and empty. He lifted his hand a little, testing if the baby would move away. Instead, it squeaked and crawled closer, placing both small claws on his arm. Jace froze. This was not supposed to happen. He knew dragons did not bond easily, and newborn dragons usually connected only with their royal caretakers. But this one chose him. He whispered, "No, little one, you're supposed to go to your family." The hatchling chirped again, curling its tail around his wrist. Jace sighed softly. He didn't have the heart to push it away. Far above the station, in her private chamber, the Dragon Empress watched the scene through her holoscreen. Her face showed no anger, no shock, no emotion at all. Only calm observation. Her advisor stood behind her, whispering nervously, "Your Majesty, should we send guards? Should we retrieve the child? Should we punish the human for touching a royal hatchling?" The Empress raised one claw, and the room fell silent. "Not yet," she said. "We watch." Her golden eyes stayed fixed on Jace. She wanted to see what choices he would make when no one guided him. Back in the docking bay, the baby dragon let out a weak cough. Jace quickly checked the egg chamber. The heated gel had started to cool too much after he fixed the overheating. The hatchling needed warmth, but not too much or too little. He searched through the crate and found a small warming cloth made for newborn dragons. The instructions were written in dragon script, but pictures helped him understand. "Okay, I can do this," he murmured. He wrapped the cloth gently around the hatchling. The baby relaxed instantly, closing its eyes with a soft sigh. Jace felt his chest warm at the sight. This little creature trusted him completely. Even though they had just met, as he held the hatchling, footsteps suddenly echoed across the bay. Jace turned quickly. The dragon guards had arrived. Their tall, armored forms filled the entrance. Their eyes glowed with suspicion and confusion. Seeing the royal hatchling in a human's arms shocked them. One guard stepped forward, wings half spread. "Human," he growled. "Step away from the royal heir." Jace froze. He didn't want trouble. He didn't want to break any rules. But the moment he tried to move the hatchling away from him, the baby made a frightened squeak and clung tighter. Jace whispered, "Come on, little one, you have to go with them." But the hatchling shook its head and buried its face against his chest. The guards muttered among themselves. The eldest guard stepped closer, confused and tense. "This is impossible," he whispered. "Newborns do not choose humans." Another guard hissed. He must have done something. Jace lifted his free hand. "I didn't do anything wrong. The egg was overheating. I just helped." The guards exchanged doubtful looks. One of them activated a communication crystal, sending a signal to the Empress's ship. The Empress saw everything. Still, she stayed silent. Then one guard stepped closer and extended his hands. "Give us the child." Jace tried again to gently move the hatchling, But the tiny dragon hissed at the guard. A small, weak hiss, but still a clear protest. The guard stiffened. It defends him, the guard muttered. Why? Jace looked from the hatchling to the guards. Maybe because I helped it. That's all. The guards clearly didn't know what to do. A royal hatchling bonding to a human was something unheard of. It could lead to political trouble. It could anger the Empress, or worse, shame the royal family. But in her chamber, the Empress leaned closer to the screen. She saw how Jace held the baby, how carefully he moved, how gentle his voice was. She saw no selfishness or fear in his actions, only a simple wish to help. An advisor whispered again, Your Majesty, we must intervene. The Empress shook her head. Not yet. Let the child decide. Her gaze followed the tiny dragon. She watched the way it clung to the human with complete trust. She remembered stories from ancient times, stories about rare humans whose presence could calm dragons, humans with something special in their life energy. Perhaps this mechanic was one of them. Down in the docking bay, the guard stepped back, confused and cautious. They did not want to harm the child. The baby dragon chirped loudly, demanding something. Jace tried to understand. Are you hungry? He asked softly. The hatchling nuzzled his hand. He checked the crate again. Inside, he found small nutrient packs meant for newborn dragons. He opened one and offered it gently. The baby sniffed it, then began to drink slowly. Its wings fluttered happily. The guards watched in disbelief. He feeds it, one whispered, and it accepts him, another said. Jace glanced at them. Look, I'm not trying to take your hatchling. I'm just trying to keep it safe until someone who knows what to do arrives. The eldest guard stepped forward and lowered his head slightly. Human, your actions may have meaning. We must wait for the Empress to speak. Until then, do not leave. Jace nodded. He wasn't planning to go anywhere. As the baby dragon finished eating, it curled up on Jace's lap and fell asleep. Jace placed his hand gently on its back, feeling its small breaths. And far away, the Empress finally spoke to her advisors. This human, she said softly, is being tested. Tested, Your Majesty? Yes, she said, her eyes still on the screen. A test of intention, a test of heart. She watched Jace stroke the sleeping hatchling. If his kindness is true, she said, then perhaps the old stories are true as well. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Perhaps humans still hold the power to change the fate of dragons. But Jace didn't know she was watching. He didn't know he was part of a silent test. He only knew that a tiny dragon needed him, and he was not going to let it down. Rumors spread fast on the space station, especially when dragons were involved. By the next morning, almost everyone on the human decks had heard the same unbelievable story. A human mechanic had bonded with a royal dragon hatchling. Some people laughed at it, calling it a wild rumor. Some whispered in fear, worried the dragons would punish the entire station. And some, especially the human officers, felt cold dread settle in their stomachs. Humans and dragons had a careful peace, but was not strong. One mistake could break it. Jace didn't know all of this yet. He sat in a small holding room near the docking bay. The same hatchling still curled in his lap. The guards had placed him there for safety, though he wasn't sure whose safety they meant, his or the hatchlings. The baby dragon blinked slowly, looking up at him with warm amber eyes. It rested its tiny head against his arm, trusting him completely. Jace sighed. You picked the wrong mechanic, little one. I'm nobody important. The hatchling chirped in protest. A guard standing outside the door cleared his throat. It understands emotions, human. It disagrees with you. Jace gave a small, nervous smile. Yeah, I noticed. He gently stroked the hatchling's back. Its wings fluttered happily. While he sat there, trying to calm himself, the entire station buzzed with rising tension. Humans whispered in the halls. Dragons growled in the shadows of their high platforms. Everyone waited for the Empress's response. Far above the station, her flagship hovered like a silent giant, a reminder of her power. Inside that ship, the Dragon Empress listened to her advisors arguing. The human broke sacred rules, one advisor said. No outsider may touch a royal egg. He interfered with the natural hatching, another argued. It could cause future problems. And what if he bonded with a hatchling, whispered a third. Dragons will panic, so will demand punishment. The Empress listened, her expression unchanged. But what if a hatchling chose him? She asked quietly. The room fell silent. Her advisor shifted uncomfortably, unsure how to respond. Dragon history was old and full of forgotten things. There were stories, old legends, about rare humans who could connect with dragon energy. But those stories were treated as myths. My son seeks comfort in him, she continued. He reacts calmly to the human's presence. That alone is important. Still, she could not ignore the tension rising below. Prepare transport, she said. We will go to the station. Her advisors bowed quickly and hurried out. On the station, the tension grew heavier with every minute. Human security teams were on edge, ready to defend the station if dragons attacked. Dragon Guard patrolled the halls, their scales shining and their eyes sharp. And in the middle of this storm sat Jace, a simple mechanic with oil on his shirt and a dragon, hatchling sleeping peacefully in his lap. He heard the alarms ring softly, signaling an approaching shuttle. One guard stepped inside the room. The Empress is coming. Jace froze. She's here? For me. For the hatchling. The guard corrected. Then after a pause he added, and for you. Jace's stomach twisted. He wasn't ready to face a ruler. He wasn't ready for anything like this. He looked down at the hatchling, who yawned and nuzzled his arm. You're not helping my nerves, Jace whispered. The hatchling chirped happily, not understanding a single problem it had caused. Outside, humans began gathering behind view panels, whispering. Dragons took respectful positions along the walkway. Everyone watched as the Empress's shuttle landed. When the door opened, the Dragon Empress stepped out. She was tall, graceful, and powerful. Her scales shone like deep blue metal, and her wings carried patterns of gold. Her eyes were calm but sharp, seeing everything. Jace felt his heart drop to his shoes. The guards guided her toward the holding room. As she approached, the hatchling suddenly perked up. It turned its head toward the door and chirped excitedly. The Empress stepped inside. She looked down at Jace and the hatchling, her gaze unreadable. Jace stood quickly, holding the hatchling carefully. Your Majesty, I'm sorry, I didn't mean... She raised one claw gently, silencing him without a word. The hatchling stretched out its neck and made a tiny, joyful sound. The Empress lowered her head and touched noses with her child. It was a tender, soft moment. But then something unexpected happened. The hatchling turned back to Jace and reached for him again. The Empress's eyes widened very slightly. So it is true, she murmured. It accepts you. Jace swallowed hard. I didn't force anything. I only helped when the egg started failing. The Empress studied him for a long moment. Her wings folded slowly. Why? She asked. Jace blinked. Why what? Why did you help? She asked. You knew the risks. You knew it was royal. You knew you could be punished. Jace looked at the hatchling, and then back at her. Because it was alone, he said. Because it was scared. Because it needed someone. The Empress said nothing for several seconds. The room was so quiet that even the guards barely breathed. Then she looked at the hatchling again. It trusts you more than any of my guards, she said softly. This is unexpected. Jace nodded awkwardly. Yeah, for me too. Outside the room, people waited anxiously. Some hoped the Empress would calm the situation. Others feared she would declare the human at fault, causing conflict. But the Empress stepped back and let her gaze sweep across the watching guards. This mechanic, she said, has shown pure intent. He acted when others hesitated. My child lives because of him. Her words echoed through the hall. Dragons murmured in surprise. Humans sighed with relief. But she wasn't finished. However, the Empress continued, this bond must be understood, and it must not break our fragile peace. Her eyes softened as she looked back at Jace. For now, you'll stay close to the hatchling, not as a prisoner, but as a guardian, until we understand why my child chose you. Jace blinked. Me? A guardian? The hatchling squeaked happily and climbed up his chest as if agreeing. The Empress nodded. Tension still filled the station, but something had changed. Fear was still there, but so was curiosity and a sense of possibility. The Empress had not come to punish. She had come to see the truth, and she had found it in a simple mechanic who did not turn away from a crying egg. Rumors still spread, but now they carried hope too. Hope that this strange bond could change everything. Eli stood in the center of the grand hall, surrounded by glowing pillars and dragon guards watching him with cold eyes. The hall felt bigger than anything he had ever seen. The air was warm, heavy, and tense. He did not know what would happen next. He only knew one thing. He had not meant to break their rules. He had only wanted to save the small dragon hatchling. The baby dragon, the one he had helped, was curled in his arms now. The hatchling made a soft chirping sound and nuzzled against Eli's chest. This small creature didn't know anything about trials or laws. It only knew that Eli was safe. The Empress entered the hall without a sound. She was tall, graceful, and shining like a living flame. Her long wings folded behind her back as she stepped forward. Even her eyes glowed softly, bright and unreadable. Everyone bowed, but Eli stayed still. He didn't know if he was supposed to bow too. He froze awkwardly, hoping he didn't make another mistake. The Empress walked slowly around him, studying him like she was reading his heart, not his actions. Eli tried to stay calm, but his hands shook a little. A dragon guard spoke loudly. The human touched the royal egg. He interfered with the sacred birth. He must answer for this. Eli swallowed hard. I didn't want to cause trouble, he said softly. The egg was cracked. I couldn't just leave it. The hatchling would have died. His words echoed across the hall. Some dragons hissed in disagreement. Others looked unsure. The Empress kept watching him without saying anything. The guard stepped closer. Intentions mean nothing. Actions do. Another guard added, Humans are weak. They always want something. Why would he save one of us without a reason? Eli looked down at the hatchling in his arms and held it closer. I didn't do it for a reward, he said. I did it because it was the right thing. The Empress finally spoke, her voice calm but powerful. The trial of hearts will decide. Dragons in the hall whispered. Eli had no idea what that meant, but the Empress lifted her hand, and a gentle wave of light formed between her fingers. It spread out and circled around him like a soft ring of gold. Step forward, human, she said. Eli took a slow step. The glowing ring rose from the floor and hovered around him, shining like a warm sun. It pulsed with light each time he breathed. This light reveals truth, the Empress said. It cannot be lied to. It cannot be fooled. It will show your heart, clean or twisted. Eli felt the light touch his skin, and suddenly he remembered things he had forgotten. He saw quick flashes of memories, his old workshop, his father teaching him to fix machines, a stray kitten he once found, the people he helped with small repairs even when they had no money. His heart felt open, exposed, almost fragile. The dragons watched the light closely. If his heart carried greed, the light would turn dark. If he wanted power, the light would crack. If he was lying, it would fade, but the light stayed soft and gold. The Empress narrowed her eyes. Why does your heart shine so clearly? She asked. Eli looked at her. Because I didn't want the baby to die, he said. I didn't think about anything else. I just acted. The hatchling stretched its tiny neck and licked his hand. Some dragons gasped. A few stepped back, unsure what to think. He has formed a bond, one of them whispered. That should be impossible. Another said, Dragons do not bond with humans. Eli felt confused. I didn't do anything, he said. It just happened. The Empress slowly walked toward him again. She placed one glowing hand on the baby dragon's head. The hatchling chirped and pressed closer to Eli instead of her. The hall fell silent. This time, the Empress looked truly surprised. It chose you, she said softly. A royal hatchling chose a human. Eli didn't know if that was good or bad. He just held the little creature gently. The guard growled. This is dangerous. The Empress must forbid this bond. It breaks our traditions. Another added. If she allows this, other humans will think they can touch our eggs. Dragons argued loudly. The hall filled with angry voices, fear, and uncertainty. The Empress raised her hand, and the hall went silent again. She studied Eli one more time. His clothes were still dirty from the workshop. His hands were rough, not royal or elegant, but his heart had glowed brighter than many of her own people. He risked nothing to gain anything, she said softly. He acted from kindness. A guard stepped forward. But kindness cannot be trusted. It is too simple. The Empress shook her head. No, kindness is the hardest thing. It demands nothing yet changes everything. Eli's breath caught in his throat. He didn't know why she defended him. He didn't feel special. He was just a mechanic who had done something anyone should have done. The Empress turned toward him. Human, she said, your trial is not over, but your heart is clean. The golden ring faded away. You will face one final test, she continued. Not of strength, not of knowledge, but of loyalty. Eli tightened his arms around the hatchling. I'll do whatever I can, he said. You will remain in the palace, the Empress said. You will care for the hatchling, and you will show us whether this bond is fate or a mistake. Dragons murmured again, but no one argued this time. As the guards escorted Eli out of the hall, the hatchling let out a tiny purr and rubbed its face against his chin. For a moment, Eli smiled. He didn't know what his future held. He didn't know if the dragons would ever trust him. But he knew one thing for sure. The Empress had given him a chance, and he would not waste it. Eli woke early every morning in the palace, even before the sun rose over the Dragon City. The halls were quiet at that hour, and the air was cool and peaceful. The baby hatchling, now a little bigger and stronger, always woke up by crawling onto his chest and chirping loudly in his face. It had become a routine. Eli would laugh softly, pat its warm scales, and start another day in a world he never expected to be part of. The dragons had kept a close watch on him for many days after trial. They studied how he treated the hatchling. They watched if he tried to use the dragon for power, or if he showed anger, or if he wanted anything from them. But Eli never changed. He fed it, cleaned it, taught it small tricks, and played with it like a parent would child. He never acted like he owned the creature. He only acted like someone who cared. Even the guards who once doubted him began to see the truth. The baby dragon followed him everywhere, and Eli always moved slowly, making sure he didn't harm anything. The palace staff, who once kept a distance, now greeted him with small smiles. One morning, the Empress herself arrived in the training courtyard where Eli was teaching the hatchling how to flap its wings. She watched from a distance first. Her long tail curled around her feet, and her expression was calm but thoughtful. Eli didn't notice her until she stepped closer. Human, she said. Eli stood straight and bowed clumsily, which made the hatchling chirp in confusion. You may relax, the Empress said. You have proven much already. Eli nodded, unsure what she meant. The Empress watched the hatchling hop around him, trying to flap its wings but falling each time. It is growing fast, she said. Yeah, Eli replied quietly. Soon it will fly, perhaps sooner than you think. There was a long silence. Eli waited for her to continue. You passed the trial of hearts, she said at last. But what comes next will change more than just your life. Eli blinked. I don't understand. You will. She asked him to follow her, and Eli did, carrying the hatchling in his arms. She led him to a tower overlooking the valley. From there, he could see dragon families flying together beneath the bright sky. He could also see starships rising and landing on distant platforms. The bond you form with the hatchling, the Empress said, is not only rare, it is something we believe to be impossible. Eli swallowed. I didn't do anything special. That is why it is special, she replied softly. She turned her gaze to the sky. For many years, dragons and humans have kept distance, not because of hate, but because of fear. Fear of misunderstanding. Fear of weakness, fear of loss. Eli listened silently. But you, the Empress said, opened a door we did not know still existed. The hatchling squeaked and climbed onto Eli's shoulder, nipping at his ear. Eli gently pushed it away. The Empress's eyes softened at the sight. "I have decided," she said, "that your bond must be honored, not broken. The hatchling has chosen you, and you have shown nothing but good intentions." Eli felt something warm rise in his chest. Relief, gratitude, maybe even pride. But, she continued, this choice comes with responsibility. This hatchling is royal blood. It will grow powerful, respected, and feared. It must learn from someone who holds a good heart. Eli nodded slowly. "I'll do my best." "I know." She raised her hand, and a small glowing symbol appeared between her fingers. It floated for a moment, then gently pressed itself against the hatchling's scales. The baby chirped but did not look scared. "This mark," the Empress explained, "binds your lives in trust. You will raise it, guide it, and learn with it. You will travel with it between our worlds. You will act as a bridge between humans and dragons." Eli could hardly breathe. "A bridge." "Yes," she said. "A new path between stars must start with someone. You are that someone." Eli didn't feel like a hero. He didn't feel like someone worthy of such responsibility. But he looked at the hatchling, who trusted him completely, and he realized he could not turn away. "What do I need to do?" he asked quietly. "You will train," she said. "Learn our ways. Learn our flight paths. Learn our history. And when the hatchling grows old enough, you will both travel to human space. Together, you will show what unity looks like." Eli stared at the open sky, imagining himself flying with dragons, something he had once thought impossible. But everything impossible seemed to be happening now. The Empress placed a hand on his shoulder. "Your kindness changed a life. Now it may change many more." Eli nodded. "I'll make sure I don't let anyone down." "You already haven't." Over the next weeks, Eli worked harder than ever. He trained with dragon advisors. He learned how to communicate using wing signals and heat pulses. He studied maps of star routes dragons use for travel. Meanwhile, the hatchling grew stronger. Its wings got larger, its scales glowed brighter, and its bond with Eli deepened every day. One evening, the hatchling lifted off the ground for the first time. It flapped wildly, almost falling, but Eli caught it and laughed. The hatchling licked his chin, proud of itself. Dragons watching from the balcony smiled softly, something rare among them. The Empress herself looked pleased. At last, the day came when a sleek starship waited at the palace landing dock. It was shaped like a dragon's wing, built for long flights across space. Eli stood beside it with the hatchling perched on his shoulder. He felt scared, excited, and strangely peaceful. The Empress approached him. "Today," she said, "you begin a journey no human has ever taken." Eli nodded. "I'm ready." The hatchling chirped loudly as if agreeing. The Empress smiled. "Then go. Show the stars what one act of kindness can create." Eli stepped into the starship. The hatchling curled beside him as the engines hummed to life. Eli looked out the window one last time at the dragon city, glowing under the sky. A new path between stars had begun, and he, the simple mechanic, was at the heart of it.